Shalom Aleichem Rabbi Isai. We are in the week of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Rosh Chodesh Kislev is the 9th month. And on Wednesday or Thursday, Rosh Chodesh, 25 days from that, is Chanukah. Now, we'll get into Chanukah a week or two before Chanukah. And that's coming up in about a week. If you go right onto this website here, Torah Anytime, you'll find a kuntris on Chanukah soon. Now you have the questions of Rosh Chodesh, a lot of questions on Rosh Chodesh, and then we leave it on for a few days and we go into Chanukah. Let's talk about Toldos. Eile Toldos Yitzchak. So why is the Seder called Toldos? It should be called Yitzchak. Doesn't it say Eile Toldos Noach, and we call it Noach? Yiyu Chayesora, we call it Chayesora. Vayishma Yisro, we call it Yisro. Vayar Bolog, he called it Bolog. Vayikach Korach, so why is this called Toldos? Should call it Yitzchak. Why? So Rashi doesn't ask the question, but he gives the answer. He says it's all about Yaakov and Esau Hamurim B'Parsha. It's not really about Yitzchak, so we can't call it Yitzchak. It's about Yaakov and Esau Hamurim B'Parsha, about Yaakov and Esau in the Parsha. And that's a good answer if you're not thinking. The first 15 Pesukim about she got pregnant, they were running in her belly, and they wanted to come out, and they went to Melchizedek, and then he got born, and one became a Yisodeh, and one became a Yosef Aholim. Yes, very nice. The next 35 Pesukim are all about Yitzchak and the wells. 35. The rest of Rishon and Sheni and Shlishi and Hefet Chamishi. Now, how can you tell me the whole set is about Yaakov and Esau? First 15 Pesukim. Yeah. They were born, different type of personalities. 35 Pesukim. Then, after 15, 35 is about Yitzchak and the wells. So how do you tell me? It's most about Yaakov and Esau. Now, of course, Rashi knows everything. Do you know that those 35 Pesukim don't belong here? They're out of place. What does that mean? Well, when Yitzchak tells Rivka, we're going down to Gerar, which is Gaza, he says, tell everybody you're my sister, because he knows what happened to his father when he went to Mitzrayim. He used that trick too, sister, if it's a husband, they'll kill me right away, because you're a beautiful woman, and they're blacks and we're white, and they'll take you and they'll kill me, so tell her you're my sister. Avaisai. How could you say to anybody it's your sister? You got 2 kids. Not one word is mentioned about Yaakov and Esau. Therefore, they weren't born yet. It didn't happen yet. Because they were married 20 years before there was any children. So this parsha happened before Yaakov and Esau was born. So why do we start off the Sedra with Eile Toldos, Yitzchak, and Yaakov and Esau? You know why? Now comes the answer. Because it starts off Ve'ele. And these are, which means it's continuation of the last Sedra, where it says Ve'ele Toldos Yishmael. And since it talks about Yishmael, now it talks about his brother. And it talks about Yitzchak ben Avram. And that's really what's all involved in that little section over there, 35 Pesukim of Yitzchak, and that's before they were married. So why you put it in here? Because you have to start off Eile Toldos Yitzchak, because you just gave the shvach and the praises of Yishmael. And now we want to tell you that Tzaddik, and these are the children of Yitzchak, Yaakov and Esau. One is a Tzaddik, one's a Rasha. Really, it doesn't belong here, but since you're talking about Yishmael, you want to talk about, the Tzaddik, Yaakov and Esau. Then we go back to what it should be, about the wells. Because after 35 Pesukim, it says Yitzchak was getting older. All about Beersheba, 35 Pesukim. Then it says into Chamishi, Vayiyu Kizoki Yitzchak V'tichenu Edav Meiros. He got old and his eyes were weak, which means the boys were born already. They were 63 years old. because that's when Yaakov took the brachas from Esav, 63. And the last we heard about them when they were 15, 48 years ago, when he sold him the brachas. He gave him over the brachas. Now Yaakov got the brachas. 48 years later, that's when he got the bechoros. The bechorah. 48 years later, they want to get the brachas too. Yaakov got both. The bechorah, when they were 15, and the brachas, when they were 63. So really, which one of these two subjects is out of place? One thing for sure about the wells and going down to Gerar, Yaakov and Esau weren't born yet, because you can't say about a woman and hang around with you is your sister if you got two kids. So it didn't happen yet, this whole thing of the wells. So maybe it's really, this is in order, but by Yisroel to Abana Bekirbo, they were fighting inside of her. Maybe that just had to be told since we're talking about Yishmael. Now we talk about it Tzaddik. So maybe we are in order. Meanwhile, the first two sections up there, Sedrum, about the children getting born and growing up, and him going down to the Gerar, really they're not connected. That's why most of the parasha, excluding this part about the wells, that's all about Yaakov and Esau. It starts that way and it ends that way. So that probably, this thing with the wells happened before. That takes care of the first problem. Eile told us Yitzchak. Toldos written with one vav. If it's written with two vav, all the children are tzaddikim. Like Eile told us Peretz. But Eile told us Yitzchak one vav, because one vav is missing. One is a Russia. Eile told us Avram, because one is a Russia. Yishmael. Here one is a Russia, Esau. Eile told us Shemayim Baretz is two vavs, because Hashem, whatever Hashem makes is perfect. Eile told us Yehuda, Peretz, and Zorach, both tzaddikim. There's a whole discussion about wherever it says Eile told us. And Yitzchak ben Aboim Shana is 40 years old. Bekachto is Rivka, when he took Rivka. Bas Besuel, the daughter of Besuel, who was a big Russia. Harami from Aram, which is Iraq. But he was also a Ramoi, a deceiver, it's a play on words. Bipadon Aram, from the fields of Aram. Achos Lavan, the sister of Lavan, who was also a Russia and a deceiver. Harami, also from Aram and a deceiver. Lo Isha, Vieta Yitzchak, Hashem L'nochach Ishto, and Yitzchak was praying opposite his wife. They were in one corner, he was in one corner, she was in the other corner. And Kiakara she was barren. But it's written Hey Vav Aleph, which means who? He's also sterile. Two people that couldn't have children, like Avram and Yitzhak, till 90, she couldn't have any children, he was 100. Hashem makes it like that. He loves the tefillah of the others. Same thing with Yaakov and Rachel. And while the Nochach is opposite his wife, she was standing on that corner, he was standing in that corner. There's many complicated answers why he was praying opposite his wife, not with his wife. I want to tell you what the Mayim Beis HaSheva Zatzal says, the best answer in the world. He says Hashem answered him and not her. Alo Hashem, God answered him, because he's a tzaddik ben tzaddik, and she's a tzaddik ben Russia. No, wait a minute. She's a Balas Tshuva from a family of scoundrels. Shouldn't Hashem answer her? She could have been greater than him. But that's not what we're involved here, says the Mayon. He's praying and she's praying two opposite prayers. She doesn't want to hear her. She doesn't want her husband to hear that she's praying to God, please don't make him like my father. And Yitzchak is praying, please make him like my father, and not my father-in-law. Two opposite prayers. She could have been a bigger tzaddik. Tzedek has had nothing to do with it. We're talking about Yichus, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We're talking about Mesorah, her heritage. We're talking about the child. Let him continue the Mesorah of Avram, and I'm Yitzchak, and my son should be a tzaddik. That's why Vayet Alo, because Yitzchak ben tzaddik, he has more zechusim to pass on to the next door. We're talking about the child, not if you or her are greater. That's irrelevant. Maybe she's greater. But we're talking about she wants the child not to be like her father. No, opposite what he's saying. He's saying he wants the child to be like his father. And she does not want it to be like her father. That means Lenochach is the opposite tefillas. That's the Mayan. Talking about not who is greater, but we want that child to continue the Mesorah of Avraham, not of Basulam. The children were running inside of her. When they passed the place of Avodah Zarah, one wanted to come out. When they passed of another place, other one wanted to come out. So Rivka thought that was one person, had a dual personality. But Tomer and Cain, if that's the case, that you have Bechira, it could be either or, just as strong. Yetzirah Ra, Yetzirah Tov, but just as strong. What do I need this for? Lama Zeh Anochi, what about to believe in the Torah? Anochi D'Shem Elokecha. Isn't it? How does a person survive that? There was another man that ran, tried all different religions, that finally became a Jew. You know whose name that is? Vayisro Tzitzu. Yisro. Also, tried out every religion, finally picked the Ahadus. Yisro. That's Yisro. He also was running to a different religion until he found the emes. He thought to Zabana Bekir, but he don't remember Cain, what I needed for. Therefore, she passed on herself, I don't need to live like this, so she died before her husband. Sarah had the same problem. She says, I'm furious against you. You were stayed with Hagar one night, she got pregnant. I'm with you 10 years, and when I'm not pregnant, so she said, well, your wife, Sarah, probably is putting on a good show. She's not so frum. And you didn't defend me, as Sarah said that wrong. Therefore, I'm furious. You should be punished. Anyone who paskins on another person, that person gets punished first. So she died before him. She died at 127, and he died at 175. Same thing here. She died young, he died old. Yitzchak lived longer than all the others. He lived 180, 10 times Chaim. And Abraham lives 5 times less than 10 times Chaim, because he shouldn't see his grandson at 15 going to the Tarabas Raw. Because at age of 15 to 20, he was becoming a wicked person. Abraham shouldn't see at 15, he's becoming wicked. By the age of 20, he's chayiv at Adam Lamokom. It took him 5 years to develop to be a Rasha. Hashem wanted to spare the grandfather, Abraham, to see that his grandson is wicked. At 15, he said, I don't need this Bechor. He sold it to his brother, Yaakov. So Hashem did a favor with Abraham, took him away 5 years before 180. And Yaakov, he died 33 years before 180 because 147, because he said to Pharaoh some words, 33 words, and had a miserable life, and so he left 33 years before 180, which is 147. And she went to Vayitelech the Droshis Hashem. You want to find out from God, what is this terrible pain I'm having? Vayom Hashem Lo, through a mature Gemon, that's Shem, who was Noah's son, still living, 560 years old. He's called Malki Tzedek, true monotheist, Shem, Malki Tzedek. And then he told her, Shnei Goyim of it, if you have 2 different nations in your belly. Wait a minute, hold it. Why don't you go to the Gadol Hador, her husband, or her father-in-law, bigger Gadol Hador, Avraham Avinu, he's still living. She has to go to a stranger? Obviously, she didn't go to her husband Yitzchak because Hashem didn't want to inform him what's going on, and she didn't say it. Because if they're true Nevi'im, they would have known it. So Hashem didn't want to tell Abraham to aggravate him, and didn't want to tell Yitzchak because Hashem wanted these 2 forces to develop, Yaakov and Esau. That's why finally, when the boys were 63 years old, and Yitzchak was 163, because she 123, because Yitzchak got married at 40 and had a child at 60. When the boys were 63, the father's 123. He still didn't know till Rivka played a trick and finally figured it out. Ooh, you are a fraud and he's the tzaddik. Gam barak let him stay blessed. Now I know he's the tzaddik. You're a fraud. How come he didn't know all these years? Rivka knew. Hashem wanted 2 forces to come on earth. Ra and Tov, and you never become great unless you fight against opposition. No athlete ever develops his muscles unless he strains them. Tremendous running or punching or push-ups, whatever they do, weightlifting, strain. That's how you become great, by fighting against opposition. You don't, but if you have no opposition, you become lazy and fat. The only way you become great is fighting opposition. That's why Yaakov was so great, because he had such a rotten brother, Esau. Like Rav Shamshval here says, the menorah has to be beaten. Beaten until you shave a menorah. The way Torah knowledge comes out until you force yourself to learn Torah and understand Torah. You make sure you have to beat. The more you beat the Jew, the greater and purer he becomes. Oh, you lose a lot, that's right. We're only looking for the few, the good and the special types. Always has to be a core of anshe emes who speak the truth and are not ashamed in a nice way to say the emes. Mikshe zohov, you only become zohov when you're beaten. Hirsch on Vayikra. You can't develop anything unless you fight opposition. Every athlete will tell you that. You don't become great by being lazy. Yisroel to Rabbanan be careful of Tomer and Cain Lomazah Anochi, what I need this for. Lomazah Anochi is 11 letters, so she was supposed to have 12 Shemot, and she only had one, Yaakov. And 11 were lost. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And Cain Lomazah Anochi. 11. And she lost the opportunity to have 11 children because she complained. I don't need this. Hashem said to her, Shnei Goyim b'vidnek, 2 superior nations are going to come out of you. Great nations. They could be friendly, but they could fight each other. B'vidnek, in your belly. Shnei lumim mima'ayichi paredo. And 2 forms of government, 2 hashkafas, have already separated from you internally. L'om v'l'om yemas, and one will be more powerful than the other. When one is up, the other is down. When Rome is up, Yishalayim is down. When Yishalayim is up, Rome is down. Rav Yavatzor, at the end of time, he who has a lot of worldly goods will serve the younger one. That's how it's going to be now when Mashiach comes. Yimul Yomel Laletis, and her days will full to give birth, full term, 9 months. Behold, they were twins. Surprise! He just told you, Malki said, Shnei Goyim b'vidnek. I know, but the surprise was, if they're so different, how come they look the same? Oh no, he was hairy, I know, but they have the same features. So you cannot tell a book by its cover. You can meet a person who looks so noble, he could be a total Russian. You could look like a man who looks so rough, but he could be a tzaddik tamim. You never can tell from the surface. So mimivitno. But the word twins is really written incorrectly in the Torah. Incorrectly. I mean, to teach you a lesson. Tu'umim. It says somim. You're missing a yud and an aleph. Yud and aleph is 11. Ooh. 11 children she's not going to have. She was supposed to have all 12. She only had one. And actually have 12. And her son Yaakov will have 12. But she had 11. And because in Umim, the Aleph and the Yud is missing, that's 11. The Yetzah Rishon Admoni, the first one came out ruddy, healthy. Kula got there to say, hair all over his body, fully developed. The Yikrishmo Esav, they call him ready-made Esav. Yosef, Ochib, then came out his brother. Didn't say Shady, the second one. His brother, equal to him. V'yodu Ochezu Ba'akev, Esav in his hand was holding onto the heel of Esav, which means he's trying to pull him back. Yikrishmo Yaakov, they called him heel. Yitzchak and Shishu Shana Beledes Yitzchak was 60 when he gave birth to them, which means he was married 20 years without children. It says in Rashi, when you have a narrow bottle, you put in 2 pebbles, the one you put in first comes out last. The one you put in last comes out first. So Yaakov was created first. He wanted to come out first. That's not how it works. When you're created first, you come out last. When you're created first for a noble purpose, at the end of time, you will pull back the first one, you will be superior. Because the Malki said, but Rav, the one who has everything, physical countries and money and everything, will serve the Tzoyer, the younger one. That's what it's going to be now. And the boys got older, 15 years old. Esav was a man who knew how to hunt. Ish the man of the field, not a farmer. That's Ish Adomo. He was a nothing, a playboy. Ish Sod, he just roamed the fields, marauded women, raped people, and robbed people. And how do you know it really means he tricked his father? Because it says, a hunt with your mouth means you deceive people. How do you know that? Look, it says right in the pasuk, Ish yodeyat sayid, a man who had a hunt. Ish soda, the man of the field. But let's put the words together. Ish yodeyat sayid ish. He knew how to hunt men. Deceive and a con artist. He was a con artist to his father for years until Rivka exposed him. Claude made a little trick, and Yitzchak fell for the trick. Ish yodei sayid ish. He knew how to deceive his father. Let's take a look at that portion. Okay, he was 40 years. He was getting older. Here, but you skip over about 35 psukim. And we're at in Chamishi. Yeah. When he got older, but his eyes were weak from seeing. Well, of course, your eyes are weak. Your eyes are not weak from eating or walking. Yeah, you know what it means? His eyes were weak from looking at Esau because he's a Russia. How come Rivka could figure out that this boy is a scoundrel and the father couldn't? 2 reasons. Yes, Rivka grew up in a family of scoundrels, Rishoyim. She knew what they looked like. Sweet talkers and wicked people. And Yitzchak grew up in a family of tzaddikim. We only saw Malachim. We never could imagine his son would be the biggest Russia in the world. Esau, the biggest Russia in the world. That's one. The second one, when he was about to be shechted at 37 years old, Yitzchak, he was on the Mizbeach, and Yaakov was ready to shecht him, and it says the angels in heaven were crying, and the tears went into Yitzchak's eyes, and they got weak. Angels don't have tears. They're not human. When they came to Abraham, he didn't ask them to sit down and eat a meal. Lean against the tree, because angels don't have kneecaps. Once they've finished the job, they disappear. They don't sit down. When I do a job, I sit down when I'm finished. They don't rest. They do the job. They disappear. They have no knees. Angels have their kayim. They have no knees. So lean against the tree. What does it mean that the malachim in heaven will cry? There's 10 levels of malachim. Chayis HaKodesh is the highest. Then you have Kruvim, Ofanim, Erelim, Chashmalim. Number 9 going down is called Elohim, Abezdin. They're also malachim, the angels of God to carry out. The last one is called Ishim, human beings. Can be so in love with Hashem, so convinced they have no free choice. Like if you stand on top of a building 100 stories high, no fence, you have free choice to jump. But it's obviously what's going to happen, so you don't. The free choice is so clear. What's going to happen, so you don't. That other option doesn't exist. Abraham was such a tzaddik, and when he came to the Ashchita, he was like a malach. Was like a robot, not a religious fanatic. He had 3 days to think it over. The Satan flooded him with compassion for his son. That means a river. He drowned in a river. Why did he drown in a river? Take a boat, you won't drown. Go around the river. Swim. What do you have to go in the river? You go in the middle of the highway and then you lay down and you say, please Hashem, help me. Abraham's not a shaita. No, he was flooded, said the Mayim, from compassion for his son more than ever. And he still was ready to shech him. That means he's super convinced Hashem is right. Because of his whole life, everything made sense except this didn't make any sense. But he did it anyhow. Because if I figure out, if I learn from a math professor, every complicated problem he figures out, and one he says, I want you to figure it out. Do you believe that he doesn't know it? He's testing me. He knows everything else. Everything else that Abraham did, all the other 9 nisyonos made sense. This one, Vayash, Mocha Mirochav, he saw Eretz Hamaria far away. It means he saw God far away. He had no logic to it. But he trusted Hashem was telling the truth. And he raised to shech his son. And the Malach says, stop! Ato Yadati, now I know you're Yerushalayim. Your brain doesn't come first. It's my brain. You put your intellectual mind, Abraham had the biggest mind in the world, you put it on the back burner and you trusted Hashem was telling you the MS. And you trusted Hashem. That's not religious fanaticism. That's logic. So when he was on the Mizbeach, Yitzchak, 37, and Abraham was 137, and he was crying, Abraham, but he had to do it. He's not a religious fanatic. He was compassionate for his son. Not like Iger Yamach Shemo said, he was a religious fanatic. No, he was so compassionate, so full of compassion, the Satan flooded him, but he still did it, because Hashem did it. That's called Ratzon Hashem. That's called the tears of a Malach. who has one clear function. And that's why he got blind in his older years, Yitzchak. He couldn't see bad in a person. Because Avram was a Amud HaChesed, couldn't see bad in anybody. That's why even Yitzchak, at the older age, couldn't see evil in his son. Couldn't see it. Because the teardrops of an angel went in his eyes. That's the Mayan Beis HaShebim. So he said to his son, I'm going to die now. He keeps talking Yitzchak v'dechena edav b'eros v'yikrel Esau b'no hagadol. Yom ila b'ni, yom hinei, here I am. What do you want, Dad? Yom hinei no, you know, I'm getting old. Lo yadati yom mosi, I don't know the day of my death. He was 123 years old. He lived 57 more years to 180. Do you know why he said that? I don't know that? Because when you come within 5 years of the death of any of your parents, before or after their death, you got to worry about it. And his mother Sarah died at 127. And he's 123. That's 5 years. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. And also he's worried because it happened to be Pesach. And Tzaddikim die on their birthday. And he was born on the night of the Seder, the first Seder night, 15th of Nisan. And he says to his sons, go out and hunt me something. And then Rivka tricks him and says to Yaakov, get me 2 goats, one for Korban Chagiga, one for Korban Pesach, because the light is Pesach. So Yitzchak was afraid he's going to die on his birthday, which was to that night. Okay, the boy side, that's enough for this little section, because once it goes more than 20, 30 minutes, people lose patience. And the next one will be Vayetze Yaakov mi Be'er Sheva.